So without a doubt, one of the biggest topics in golf in 2024 and 2025 is how we use the ground to make more speed. And is it a pressure shift? Is it force production? Is it torques? What is it? So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about what actually needs to occur for us to use the ground well. And I think the biggest thing is we need to change the terminology, and we need to stop trying to shift our weight and start transferring our pressure. So for this conversation, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to talk about how we use the ground, and more simply, we're going to talk about how we move our pressure, because that's really the most simplistic way of how we use the ground, and also the way that makes the most sense for golfers. So when we talk about pressure and how we use that pressure, what we want to think about is we cannot create more or less pressure. So what I mean by that is when I am standing and gravity is pulling me against the ground, I only have 100% of what I weigh pushing against the ground. I can't make 120 or 140 or 160. Now, I can create forces and start creating some ground reaction forces and start doing some things like that, but from a static positioning, I can only put 100% of my pressure into the ground. So if I want to move the pressure, I don't want to try to shift it, because that creates a lot of this unwanted horizontal force and slide that we typically see a lot in the golf swing. Rather, I want to actually feel more like I'm marching, because if I have 50% of my pressure in my lead foot and 50% of my pressure in my trail foot while I'm not moving, the only way to make more pressure here is to take it away from here. So now I'm able to transfer that pressure very easily by moving it from one foot to the other. So I think the idea of shifting our weight is what really gets a lot of people not moving so well throughout the golf swing. So what we're going to look at next is some simple drills we can do to make the idea of shifting our weight, or better yet, transferring our pressure, much easier for you, the golfer. So I think a lot of people have really kind of leaned into these step drills that Dr. Kwan has really made famous over the past couple years when it comes to golf. And there's a lot of different ways to where we can use these step drills to help us. And when it comes to transferring our pressure, the stepping can really be beneficial, because once again, if I'm lifting my foot away from the ground, then we know that the pressure is having to move. So the steps really work nicely when it comes to transferring the pressure from foot to foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to think real quick about this, and we're going to think about just kind of doing some marching in place. And what we're doing is we're just picking each foot up, we're just marching in place. And the way that this sometimes gets a little bit misused is that a lot of people think to Kyle Berkshire, who does an amazing job in the World Long Drive, and when Kyle gets going, he's really got a lot of rock to his. Okay, now Kyle's got 6 chances to put one in play and is trying to maximize his horizontal force production. So for him, it's okay and he can kind of get away with this, but for us having to manage low point, we're actually going to be more marching in place with our knees staying more in. So we don't want to have the duck foot with the hips open kind of going on to where we're kind of twisting like this. We actually want to feel more like we're marching in place. So once we have our march going, what we're going to do is we're just going to put the golf club down into playing position. And what we're going to notice is that it's going to be kind of natural to make our backswing. So what we want to do is just get used to putting that right foot down in the ground. And now we're going to feel a little push up, and we're going to use that up to help us get to the top of our swing. So that's going to be super, super helpful for getting that pressure pressure to the right side. Okay, and now from there, I can easily lift this golf club. So that's a much better strategy for us than feeling like we're kind of trying to lean left and going this way and getting that reverse pivot going on. So the simple drill is just to kind of get marching in place. And then once we put that trail foot in the ground, make the backswing, and then we can add the march back with the left side and make the downswing as well, with the key being we need that second step to happen before the downswing happens. And that's really going to be beneficial for us getting that pressure moving right to left a lot better than trying to shift it by sliding our pelvis back and forth. So interestingly enough, if you're really working on this pressure shift in an effort to create more speed, One thing to kind of consider as well is that we don't want to make the steps faster to make the golf swing faster. So when we're doing our marching with our golf swing, one thing that we want to consider is that I can swing pretty fast, but I have to keep marching, right? So it's way more important to keep the marching happening than to worry about where the club is. So we don't want to try to match the feet to the club. Rather, we want to try to match the club to the cadence of the feet. So now we can see that even trying to hit a golf ball with this, it would seem like it might be kind of tough, but we're just going to get set up here. We're going to get marching, and it's the same idea, right? So we're going to go back and then step through, and that's going to help me really start transferring that pressure much easier than trying to shift the pelvis back and forth. So words do have meaning, and I think a lot of times the words we choose to use to describe what we do in the golf swing causes more problems than it tends to help. So once again, simply going from an idea of trying to shift our weight, which creates a lot of this sway and unnecessary side-to-side use, and moving into an idea of trying to transfer our pressure is going to be a much simpler way to interpret this information and put it to good use in your golf swing. So if you have any questions about how we transfer pressure or how we use ground reaction forces to create more speed, let us know in the comment section and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So thanks so much. Make sure to hit subscribe, and until next time, keep grinding.